exotic locations around the world, a daughter finishing her father's work, raiding of ancient tombs. All this can only mean one thing. We're comparing Tomb Raider on this episode of Retro vs. Remake.
I'm Reggie Parker.
And I'm Dan Buick. Welcome to another episode of
Retro vs. Remake.
Look at this live
did
version. Look at this. You could actually see us this time.
Yep.
So this is the podcast, right? I guess you'd call that, where we compare movies and their remakes, or in this case, reboots. This is actually a reboot episode we're doing today, and the movies we're comparing are Tomb Raider, specifically Lara Croft Tomb Raider versus Tomb Raider.
Rise of the Tomb Raider, I believe.
No, is it called Rise of the Tomb Raider?
No, it's just Tomb Raider.
Okay. Oh, that's a Star Wars joke.
Yeah.
I got it. All right. Lara Croft Tomb Raider 2001, starring Angelina Jolie, Ian Glenn, John Voight, Daniel Craig, Noah Taylor. And I just want to point out that we have two Game of Thrones alum here. We have Ian Glenn, yeah, and Noah Taylor. Yeah, those two guys from Game of Thrones. I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, directed by Simon West, who also directed one of my favorite movies, Con Air.
Oh, nice.
Screenplay by Paul Massett and John Zinman, and music by Graham Revell. Tomb Raider 2018, starring Alicia Vikander, Dominic West, Walton Goggins, Daniel Wu, Kristen Scott Thomas, and a cameo by Nick Frost. Directed by Roar Uthaug. Screenplay by Geneva Robertson Dwart and Alistair Siddons. Music by Tom Holkenborg. Okay. Reggie, what was your first experience with either film?
I've seen Lara Croft Tomb Raider. A lot.
A lot.
Not a lot. But I've watched the movie multiple times. I was thinking about this before the podcast. This is one of those times where people ask about video game movies and being true to the source material or even being good. I played Tomb Raider a bunch. I've watched this movie several times. I'm familiar with the genre. Without getting into the spoiler territory, this is a very Tomb Raider movie. You know, the remake, not so much. This is my first time seeing a remake, but I did play a little bit of the Tomb Raider game that's based off of. And again, without getting into spoiler territory, Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider. There you go. I guess I had seen bits of the Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Yeah. I never watched it in theaters or anything. I do remember when it came out, it was like a big deal. I think it made a huge deal. Yeah, I saw like billboards everywhere. It made a lot of money too. But I didn't watch it until it was on HBO. But I didn't watch the whole thing. I honestly just wanted to see Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft.
That's why we were all there.
Yeah, because I never actually played any of the Tomb Raider games. I just knew it was a lady who raided tombs,
yeah.
And she was known for some things, some very specific things.
The character models were interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But I never had a PlayStation, so that's why I never played those.
Well, I also didn't have a PlayStation. I had the misfortune to play this on Sega Saturn.
Oh,
yeah!
Dip.
I played
a Console Wars episode on that.
But honestly, this film kind of feels like kind of the early days of the internet to me, almost, where you have this outlandish character, and then you have an actress that is trying to portray that, and I think that's why the internet went crazy when Angelina Jolie got cast as this sort of iconic video game character. For reasons you described.
For a couple of reasons. Yeah, so I was kind of familiar with that. I was actually more familiar with the soundtrack of this movie, which we'll get into throughout our discussion. And the reboot, Tomb Raider from 2018, I had never seen. I had never played the game like Reggie has over here. So it was all fresh for me.
Good.
All right. Well, oddly enough, these are two completely different plots, but they kind of follow a very similar outline. I was actually able to make a synopsis for this. So before we get into our discussion, let me just go over the synopsis. Lara Croft is the heir to the Croft fortune. In her manor, she discovers her father's notes. These notes were written for Lara years ago before he left her. In the notes, he tells her that there is a power that must be destroyed. Lara uses these notes to continue her father's research to find the artifact. Lots of action ensues. Along the way, she meets our antagonist. He's looking for the same thing Lara is. He works for a corporation who will use that discovery for evil. On top of that, the antagonist also claims he killed Lara's father years ago. Some more action ensues. Eventually, Lara and the antagonist have to work together. They raid an ancient tomb and find what they are looking for. The artifact is ultimately destroyed by Lara, and so is the antagonist. And then both movies end their respective ways. Okay, so, like I said, one completely different plots, but they follow this outline pretty close.
As a fan of the game series, there is a structure, and I think that's why both films are able to kind of explore the same type of adventure.
Is her father big in the games? Because he's like big in these movies.
The father, I played a lot more of the original series.
Mm-hmm.
The father is an element. I mean, it's part of her sort of motivation, and it's brought up so that it also sort of explains something we'll get into her wealth, because that's a big reason why she can go on so many adventures.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Bruce Wayne thing.
Yeah,
I got my parents' money.
Totally.
Yeah.
But not that big. He's an afterthought after a while.
Yeah. I was just like so surprised, like, oh, we're bringing him back. He got killed again. But it's like, gee, wow, this is insane. All right, so like I said, these are completely different plots, so I think that's where we should start with our discussion. Don't want to get into too much detail, so maybe we can just talk about what Lara was trying to get.
So, if you're raiding the tomb, you need a treasure of some sort. In the original film, which actually when you're talking about Lara Croft's life is later in life, but in Lara Croft Tomb Raider, she's going after a triangle key, which will unlock a supernatural secret that, as you mentioned, the evil corporation's after as well.
But you can't just get the key. You're ready to use it.
That's fair.
You have to wait for all the planets to align. And this happens once every 5,000 years. Don't worry, you'll know that because they will tell you several times throughout the film.
You will hear a lot that we got one chance, or it's gonna be five. Like the number of characters that make the joke. Well, I'm not waiting 5,000 more years. Is out of control.
And then the fact that she's like, before like she even discovers like anything from her father's notes, she just happens to be just watching the planets align on this monster telescope that she has. And she's like, hey, Bryce, look, it's the planets align once every 5,000 years. This is quite incredible. It's like, how are you on the same thing the villains are before you even found the thing to go on your journey?
It's pretty insane. And like these villains are committed.
Yeah.
To, like this is almost... They're almost a cult. Like this is part of their religion, more or less.
Well, it's the Illuminati. That's who we have as our big evil corporation in this Lara Croft movie.
But like you said, these guys who were completely keyed in on this 5,000-year event. You're right. Lara Croft just kind of casually looking up in the sky, like, that's a big deal.
So what does it do? The triangle once you get it.
Well, it allows the...
Can you explain it to me? Because I was a little confused about it.
Well, here's the thing. You got to get one piece of the triangle, then you got to get another piece of the triangle, and then that unlocks a key, which once you unlock the key, you can go to another tomb, and you more or less can control time. That's the end game.
You can control time, but can you control time forever or only in that window when the planets are aligning?
I think that, I guess, once you're controlling time, you're kind of in control of time.
That's where I got a little bit... I'm overthinking this movie, which I shouldn't, but I was just a little confused, like, so are you in control of time forever, or is it just that 2-hour window?
You have keyed in on the first rule of Tomb Raider. The first rule is, it doesn't matter what it does, you just want it.
Okay.
So...
so I'll just go along with since you can travel back in time, that you can pretty much do it forever.
Yeah.
As long as you have it.
or at least.
But I guess to get it started, to activate it, you have to have the planets aligned.
Yeah, or at least set up events that that I guess make you more powerful. Which we'll get into that when it comes to villainry, but they seem pretty powerful already.
Yeah.
But
you can always be more powerful. Right.
Yeah.
So
that is a multi-step supernatural process that involves a triangle key and a lot of different locales, so we can see our protagonist in a lot of different get-ups.
Which is one of the reasons she signed on for the movie. She wanted to go to different locations. But we'll get to Angelina in a bit. But I guess it's kind of like a video game because you got to go here, you got to go here, here, you got this, that,
Fetch quest.
Yeah, fetch quest, exactly. So that's pretty much the plot of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, as opposed to Tomb Raider, where we're going after
an ancient Japanese queen/witch that had powers of death and destruction that were unfathomable, that was then locked away in a secret location, now known as Himiko's tomb. And in that tomb, there are secrets, again, unfathomable, that could lead to death, which gives you the power of death, and that's something.
Yes! That's such an easy plot to follow.
You're following that, right?
Yeah, I was a little confused. I guess kind of what you said, it doesn't really matter what you're after. You just know that there's something they're after. It's important that we get it before another evil corporation gets it. What was the name of that corporation?
In this one, it was Trinity.
Oh, the Trinity.
The Trinity,
okay.
yeah.
So Illuminati and Trinity in this one. Okay.
And I mean, this is a theme that's, like I said, across the board, any Tomb Raider game, the hope of all of society rests in the hands of a Tomb Raider, Lara Croft specifically, and some sort of evil do-bad thing that if they get their hands on it before Lara, the world as we know it is over. And that's more or less how Tomb Raider works.
It's not just about money. It's about the world.
Right.
For all of these games. Wow. That poor girl. So much weight on her shoulders.
Oh, my God. It completely, insane amount of weight on one person's shoulders. Consistently and constantly. But I think that kind of gets a little bit in the tone when we're talking about the films. Whereas, I'm going to try not to confuse ourselves and the audience too much. When I say the original, I'm actually chronologically talking about the future. But we'll just say Lara Croft Tomb Raider. In Lara Croft Tomb Raider, they really kick up the supernatural in that film in ways that are, supernatural. Like they're fighting
rock monsters,
golems. There is the time travel element.
Time travel, obviously.
Some very unnatural things happen
It's Palpatine
in the film versus Tomb Raider is trying to play it a little more realistic.
Yeah, a lot more grounded in reality, more gritty. They don't go for supernatural at all. In the end, it's not because the witch she had some powers. It was just a disease that she hosted, and it remained with her corpse throughout all these years. So they stay away from that completely.
Yeah, it's something that is believable. It's like, all right, there's this super disease that's kind of hidden away, but if it got out, then the world as we know it changes. I think both films sort of talk about this. Jumping around is hard to kind of lock down, but all myth, as they say in at least one of the films, all myth is grounded in reality. And Tomb Raider is very much trying to show that myths, though they seem supernatural, can be explained. And I think they're going for trying to make this sort of iconic character more believable in a real world sense.
Yeah.
Which you don't have to.
You don't have to, but I guess it makes sense. Try to differentiate yourself from the Lara Croft Tomb Raider. So it makes sense to me.
Kind of like in our episode about True Grit. This is a gritty reboot of the Tomb Raider franchise.
Yeah.
And tonally, by getting away from the supernatural, I think that they're much closer to that gritty
definitely
element.
Yeah, because like we'll get to her shortly, but like Lara Croft, like she's in Tomb, like she's not dirty at all. Hair's perfect,
Perfect.
In the original, but then like in the new Lara Croft or the new Tomb Raider, she's like bloody, she's all muddy, sweating. Everybody's just dirty all the time. It's really gritty and grounded in reality.
I'll say this because I played the game. She gets the shit kicked out of her, like constantly in that game, and in a way that you do not see in the earlier video game, in the earlier film. They have this very unrealistic idea of what Tomb Raider would be doing, but
or what she's wearing,
right? Or like basic physics, because I don't know how much she'd be able to pull that off with Angelina Jolie's body type, as it were. But I guess, should we get into that?
Yeah, let's talk about Laura's. So as we said, we have Lara Croft Tomb Raider, played by Angelina Jolie, and then Tomb Raider in 2018, played by Alicia Vikander. All right. Where do you want to start with these comparisons?
Let's start talking about the person, the woman, more than the body type. I think we can sort of get to that, but I see in your notes here that you have Lara Croft, the Angelina Jolie take, is rich and also an experienced Tomb Raider. So this isn't her first rodeo tomb. She's raided a lot of tombs. She's well established in society as well. Like you see scenes where different people are like, oh, it's Lara Croft, the famous person. Her kind of backstory, which is true in the game as well, is that she's basically masquerading as a photojournalist, but she's really a Tomb Raider, which I guess is a job that you can have.
That's kind of like Indiana Jones, a school teacher, but I'm actually just going for this stuff.
That's a good point.
Belongs in a museum.
I'll say this about this particular Tomb Raider as well, when you're saying it belongs in a museum. Lara Croft does not care about anthropology at all. I mean, she will bust up anything just to get the one prize. It could be terracotta soldiers. It could be, ancient Roman pillars. It does not matter how many things you shoot as long as you get the item that you're going for.
In this ancient tomb that hasn't been touched by man in thousands of years, I'm going to destroy some shit so I can get my one thing.
We can learn so much about the origins of man. Or a shiny object. Which, again, it's not designed for you to really think about too hard. Versus Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, played by Miss Vikander, who, this is it. This is her first shot at.
Green is when she's doing this.
She makes some interesting choices in the film. Like, she is rich, but refuses to be rich.
Yeah, she refuses to believe her father is dead. That's the thing. She can only get the money if she signs this, I guess, certificate of death.
Right.
And she can't get that inheritance until she signs it, but she doesn't want to believe he's dead, so it's been like 5 years, and she's just kind of slumming around.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where, like, this person, who is, on paper, one of the richest people on the planet, is, like, stealing apples. Because she refuses, like you said, to sign off on her father's death. But I found that to be strange. I guess I understand her motivation, but when you look at some of the trials that she's going to go through, it would sure help if she had money and maybe a crew, like she's got resources that she's not using.
I guess it plays into the plot later because she doesn't want to believe her father is dead, and as we find out in the Tomb Raider movie, her father's actually not dead. The guy who said he killed her, didn't kill him, and they never explain how he survived or what he's been doing the last 5 years in that cave. But we'll get to that.
We will get to that.
But I can see why she wouldn't sign the papers. I
understand that too, from the idea that, like, if you in your heart of hearts believe that your father's alive, you don't want to, essentially acknowledge that he's dead because you just don't believe it. My only problem with it is that it's sort of creating other issues in her life that, like, they're going to sell off her father's stuff, and I'm just like, maybe you concede on this ground in the off chance that you do find him, because, like, even if there's a death cert, I feel like if he comes back alive, you know,
where's my stuff?
you know, I don't know. Like, I don't want to harp on that too hard. It's a choice that I think you're right that it fits the character and explains. It just shows that she is actively looking for her father in a way that the original Lara Croft film, she's accepted that her father's gone in that film. But I just find that when you're grounding things in reality, it starts to get a little tough for me when you're looking at what would you do if your father's missing? Would you use the resources available to you, or would you kind of like kick around learning Muay Thai and you know, working as a courier? You know,
that is a good point. She could have gotten that fortune and put a search party out for him. I didn't think about that.
Neither movie is designed for you to think about what's happening on film. These movies fall squarely in the realm of dumb action flick. My only thing is in Tomb Raider, they're trying to sort of elevate beyond that with the reality, which then the big question machine starts coming into play for me in a way that I'm excusing so many crazier things in the first film because the movie's like, no, this is crazy.
Well, the first movie, it sets off the crazy tone right away, right off the bat.
Does it?
But before we get into that, like, I kind of feel like Laura's journey is almost like we kind of talked about Bruce Wayne. She's kind of like that. She's got this fortune, and like Batman Begins, kind of.
Sure.
He's got this whole fortune. He doesn't want to go to school. He's going to go around the world and learn about what a thief is, and instead of like using that fortune, it's like once I discover who I am, then I'm going to use the fortune. So it's almost like they kind of did that in this movie. I'm not going to defend it 100%, but I thought I was okay with the choice.
Yeah.
For, you know, you're going to do something different. It's like her beginnings, I guess. What could she be doing if she had that fortune? Just be sitting around the house,
right?
Not doing Muay Thai.
No, you're right. There's a character development. I'm glad you bring up a film like Batman Begins that I think does something similar, like you mentioned. I found it to be more focused in his approach to kind of becoming the Batman.
Yeah.
Although,
she didn't have any focus. She was just like kind of, I guess, just in denial the whole time.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Bruce Wayne, who was like, I'm going to do this now.
But the other thing, though, from in that same breath, I will say to defend the film, I don't think anyone goes out to be a Tomb Raider. Like, it's not like a job. She doesn't really have an end goal other than finding her father. So it kind of makes sense that she's less focused in like a Bruce Wayne.
And plus, it's like she didn't know her father did this. That's another difference.
Yeah.
She knew in the original film that this was his jam. He's like, I'm going to go find artifacts and stuff. But in the remake, she didn't know. She just thought he was the head of a corporation, which, do we know what that corporation does?
It was called... Oh, what it does.
Okay.
No.
So it is kind of like Batman. I don't know what Wayne industry it does, but I just know there's a lot of money in the Waynes.
It looked like, I think, I don't have my notes right in front of me, but I believe at least one of the buildings she was at was called Croft Holdings, something like that. So maybe some kind of investing. If I had to guess, because I am guessing, perhaps he like invest in adventures and the treasures that they find is money.
It doesn't really matter.
That's the thing. Like when it comes down to it, it doesn't actually matter. But it does show you sort of where they're going. This is an origin story. We're going to show you the humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And she's going to work her way up. So that they nail that aspect of it. It makes me ask some questions, but if you leave that alone, it totally makes sense. Like,
So the 2018 film origin story, the Lara Croft Tomb Raider, kind of like an episode in the day of
you're just kind of like jumping in the...
Yeah, you're in the middle of another episode.
Of a crazy life. I mean, I know we also have notes sort of about body types, because you can't talk about Lara Croft, the video game, the character, the movies, without talking about body types. And the original is based off of the source material. Lara Croft has assets.
Very curvy, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
They actually padded her bra to make her bust even bigger. It's crazy because I read like Lara Croft is like a double D and Angelina's a C, so they pat her to get to a D. It's pretty crazy. And I remember when the movie posters came out, they even photoshopped it to make her have a bigger chest. It's pretty ridiculous, but when that's your character, it's like you kind of have to do it.
We've come some ways in terms of character portrayals in film and video games. And Lara Croft, though in ways a flawed sort of protagonist, was kind of like the original badass, especially in the 3D era of video games. The original badass female character.
That's true.
The waist super cinched, the boobs super big. It's a character like, I know you haven't really played the games, but like she's shooting double guns and doing backflips and like literally like she's basically an Olympic level gymnast with giant boobs that shoots things and nailed it.
Sold a lot of video games and made a lot of money.
So I mean, the one thing, and I think why the movie did so well at the time, was Angelina Jolie looked like Lara Croft, the character. Yeah. And when it comes to the male gaze, as it were, that's what the people paid to see. And I can't fault them for taking the source material and saying, this is what the character looks like, because she nails it. And tonally as well, because, again, I know you didn't play the video games necessarily. She actually does nail Lara Croft's attitude as well. Lara Croft, in these dangerous situations, is cracking jokes and making quips, and that's kind of who the character is. And I think Angelina Jolie nails the body type and the tone of the character. But yeah, Alicia Vikander, she also nails kind of what the new Tomb Raider looks like. She's a more muscular. She looks like she does CrossFit. Like it's believable. She's muscular, trains, like we talked about the Muay Thai scene. So she's learning practical skills that could be applied to tomb raiding. Yeah,
this is a more, again, going to the more believable, grounded in reality Tomb Raider. And she put on a lot of muscle for this movie.
No, she looked great.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not that she's not, oh boy, let's not get canceled, but it's not, she's still a feminine woman, she's still, like, she looks great, but she's not like this giant boobs.
Yeah, she doesn't have the boobs that like you initially think when you think of Lara Croft. But in fairness, the rebooted games, they definitely reduce the size.
Yeah, I mean, she does look like the character in the rebooted games. Yeah. And I'll say that about both films when it comes to the source material and what was presented. Both actresses are nailing the portrayals.
Yeah.
I was going to say for better or for worse, but just that's what it is, and that's who
it is. Yeah. when the first Tomb Raider came out, if Alicia Vikander was in that one, then everybody would people would riot in the streets.
No one would have gone and seen it. I mean, I'm sure someone would have, but like the fanboys would not have been happy with that portrayal. And I think what Angelina was able to do by just being the gorgeous woman that she is, plus, like you mentioned, with some help, she actually put a real face to this ridiculous cartoonish character. It was a testament to her. I mean, we all know Angelina Jolie is consistently considered one of the hottest, sexiest women on the planet, but she also gets to play this sort of super genius Tomb Raider. Vikander, again, nailed it. I mean, her commitment to looking more muscular, like, I think she got the job done.
Yeah, and like vice versa, like if you had put out another large-breasted Lara Croft in 2018, people riot in the streets again.
It would have been a disaster.
Yeah. So both, I think it was perfectly cast for each respective film.
Yeah. The original Lara Croft from like the early days, British, witty, badass. Angelina Jolie nails it. The reboot, you've got realistic, tough, gritty. Vikander, she nails it. And yeah, I mean, I've got nothing negative to say about either their portrayal. We can start talking about screenplay stuff, but the actresses were perfectly cast.
Yeah, I agree. Should we go into other characters?
Yeah, I think we should talk about some other characters.
Which ones do you want to go to? Should we go to antagonist, or do you want to talk about the dads first?
Let's talk about the dads first, because I think that's part of the Lara Croft character. You have to sort of discuss the dads and kind of get some of her motivation.
Sounds good. So Papa Croft, played by Angelina's real daddy, John Voight. And then we have Dominic West in the 2018 film.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess we can talk a little bit of the differences of the characters. We had already said that her dad's dead. Well, we found out early in both films that the dad's dead, but it turns out in the Lara Croft movie, he really is dead, and she's trying to get the time thing so she could bring him back or prevent his death.
Right.
And then in the remake, or the new one, we find out he's actually not dead. He's just been hiding on that island for 5 years in a cave, not doing anything. He's just been there.
Well, he's trying to stop the Trinity from finding his...
But by what? Hanging out in a cave?
Misdirection.
But like, he's in a cave. What is he misdirecting?
They got bad notes, and he knows the good notes, and he's trying to...
What's he trying? Was he like sneaking in the camp and swapping out the notes? They never explicitly say what he does. He does throw that line out there, like, I've been misleading them. It's like, when? Are you misleading them now while you're in the cave, or were you misleading them before they killed you?
I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. It's a little confusing.
Unfortunately. And something that should be kind of more or less a simple plot line. I think it would be better if he's like I've been trying to stay under the radar so they can't find me, and I'm trying to find it before they do. I think they're using bad notes, and I've got good notes.
Yeah, if he was trying to find it before they did, that makes sense. But it sounded like he was just going to wait.
How long could you pull that off, though? Because, like, how big is this island? They're eventually going to find it. Yeah. No matter what you do.
They have a lot of dynamite.
They got a lot of dynamite. I don't know, like, when you look at the Dominic West portrayal, like you said, he's in a cave. Motivation-wise, I just don't quite understand why this ultra-rich dude is... I don't know. Like, there's got to be other ways to do this. Hire, like, just like the bad guys, hire Black Order mercenaries to, like, stop them if they do find it. You know, like, there's other things that you can do here. And also, like, that kind of, like, weird, tropey cliche of take my notes and burn them. Don't let them find them. It's just like, hey, dude, why don't you burn your own notes?
Yeah, and by the way, why are his notes at home if he was going to that island to find this? And it's like, wouldn't you bring your notes with you? You know?
Maybe you wouldn't be stuck in a cave.
Yeah. And then you could burn your own notes.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, so you didn't go with your notes, so what were you going on? Just your memory?
Right.
I mean, come on. It's
to the point
problems.
To the point that he's like basically like Castaway. He's like beard scruffy. He looks like
all he needed was a volleyball.
He's hallucinating.
Yeah, he's like, she'll go away. She'll go away.
I mean, whatever his plan was, it has failed.
Yeah, it's terrible
because it's ineffectual, and like he's left this sort of void in his daughter's life that like is actively making her life bad.
Yeah,
and it's making her make poor choices herself. She didn't go to university. She's stealing apples. There's nothing wrong with honest work, but like she's a courier.
She's getting paint everywhere.
Paint. I want to bring that up when we talk about acting.
Okay, we will.
I want to talk about the paint. Whereas like John Voight is kind of nailing this like almost Richard Branson type like rich dad like he is Lord Richard Croft. Like I buy that dude is Lord. He's like basically the type of people that you would see during like when like Egyptologists were out in the streets, like someone wearing like a safari hat going out to a cave being like a father's kind of British dude, but like he's just a rich dude with money who's like, I'm going to find the Holy Grail. Like that's basically who he is, and John Voight nails it.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of scenes with John Voight. It's mostly flashbacks, maybe some voiceovers from any letters that he left behind for Lara, and then we get one scene of them interacting when she is able to go back in time. But yeah, he's dead, and she wants to get him back. That's an easy plot to follow.
Right.
You know, anybody who's lost a loved one can understand that. And if you have the ability to do that, you'd want to do that.
Of course. I do like, and it helps that this is later in her career, as it were. She's moved on in a way that she's functioning.
Yeah.
But she still does long for her father. She does want him back, and she has, sort of, like you mentioned, resources and the means to potentially do that. So while it's not encompassing her entire life, it's definitely part of her character motivation and sort of explains why she does what she does when she could just kick back and do literally anything else.
Yeah, she's definitely. It's definitely a part of her, like her father, his legacy. I know she like his anniversary of his death was there, so it was addressed.
Right.
But like you said, it's not ruining her life. She's not doing. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this.
I'm not that type of Croft.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not that type of Croft. She says that a lot in the new one. It's kind of like somebody you love has passed on, and you're not gonna forget them, but you're not gonna stop
right
or ruin your life over it.
Of course. And I found that kind of that less is more approach with John Boyd was, in my opinion, a little bit more effective in terms of she doesn't really see her father again. I guess maybe through supernatural means, kind of, but I think he says that he's more or less a memory.
Yeah, it was a little gray there if she actually interacts with him.
But at least this memory is giving her good advice, which is like, look, time may have been stolen from us, but you can't steal time because, of course, that's a bad idea. So he's like, let me go. And she has, in a sense, closure. She's still sad about it, but her father understands the implications of messing with time and space, and he's like, dude, destroy this. This is not a power that anyone should have. The Dominic West, here's my camera. The battery still works. Destroy my notes. I'm like, dude, try harder, man. Go home and be a family man.
We also got a lot of flashbacks with Dominic West, too. And they're pretty much the same thing. I'm going now. I'll see you later.
Bye.
You're a little older, and I'm still going. Bye.
Yeah.
I guess what they're trying to just portray is like she has kind of abandonment issues with him. Like, he keeps leaving her.
Rightfully so.
Again, it's just it's a weaker character. He's the weaker Croft, for sure.
By far. We never really get that moment where he feels like the type of father figure that you really would be hung up on. Yeah,
that you understand why she's ignoring this fortune or just abandoning it altogether because you don't understand like what a great man this guy is. And it's like, right. I'm not seeing it.
Right. Even without him being there, John Boyd's character, like, because they kind of, from a sort of character design, costuming perspective, got it. Rich, British, dad, done. Whereas, like, the other one is sort of back and forth, and I understand it because it's an origin story and it's closer to home for her. You see more examples of him, as you mentioned, being a bad dad.
Yeah.
And I understand why she didn't go to university. I understand why she's making poor choices because she didn't have a father figure to, like, teach her anything better.
Yeah. And I was looking at the grave at the mausoleum, and, like, her mom died in, like, 96. And she's, like, probably in her early 20s in the film, so she didn't have a mom either, so all she had was that Anna woman.
Yeah.
So she didn't have like, any parental.
No. I mean, there was no guidance, and I would have liked more scenes of Dominic West, whether them interacting in a way that, like you said, isn't just see you later. Like, they introduced the concept of these, like, random Japanese puzzles. Maybe if they were, like, doing a puzzle together, and he was giving her advice about, like, it's not what it seems. Like that. Something that you could fall back on. And
then you have a call back to later, and she uses it in the film.
A movie.
Is that what that is?
But, I guess I get it. It's early enough in life that she can get that type of closure, I guess, where she sees her father again. But even in the interactions, it's not great. You guys, she's injured in a cave. It's not looking good, and he looks like hell, and he thinks he's hallucinating. And even though she gets to see her father again, it's not the best of him. It's not the best condition you could be in, and it just it felt flat to me. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, the reunion, I feel like it could have had more. I almost feel like she should have almost been angry.
Yeah.
You're here. You've been here the whole time.
Right.
How dare you? A little more from our Laura, but they had her injured, so she's gonna just get sewn up and pass out. So you don't really get that that moment, like we're finally together, and
right.
This is the moment like that she's been waiting for her whole life, pretty much since he left, and they just don't deliver emotionally.
No. Unfortunately, having him there doesn't really help the plot, nor does it truly further it either. No. It's like she goes on, despite his advice, she's like, leave it alone. Don't try to go after him. It's too dangerous. So even though she finds him, she doesn't need to listen to him, and they separate again anyway. So it's just it's a choice. I think that they missed the mark.
They definitely missed the mark. The only way he helps her is when he blows himself up, so the tomb starts like breaking down. She's able to make that jump. Yeah, that's the only way he helped her out.
I mean that's pretty much it.
He was pretty useless. He didn't solve any of the puzzles really. No. She was the one that figured them all out.
Correct.
She didn't need him at all, and because she was kind of stranded by herself. And I thought, like, how's she going to get back? She's not going to find the tomb. What's she going to do? Oh, he's going to be able to help her, and he's going to lead her. No, he didn't do any of that. No. He was, like, trying to hold her back from that. So, he was kind of a pointless character. Should have just been dead.
I mean, honestly, like, yes, he should have been, because for that character, there's not proper closure there. If she already thinks he's missing or dead, like, I actually would rather the Angelina Jolie situation where she may not think he's dead because they just have missing on his tombstone, but like, I would rather that of like still thinking maybe he's out there than actually seeing him and seeing him in that condition. Because it would have been more powerful if he had done better on his own. Like even if like his camp, if it wasn't a cave, if he had like some shack somewhere, like, and he was doing reasonably like well, I think that would have made the character better as well. But like, it's just he's a failure all around. So
you got it, John Voight.
John Voight's best dad. Maybe not in real life. I guess since the dad is kind of like a moot point, and in that remake, I guess we can start talking about villains.
Yes. In our remake, we have Manfred Powell, portrayed by Ian Glenn, and then
Sir Jorah Mormont.
Yeah, Jorah. And then we have Matthias Vogel, portrayed by Walter Goggins.
Yeah.
All right. So they both work for these evil corporations. Which one do you prefer?
I prefer Manfred Powell. Just tonally, I think the Lara Croft Tomb Raider film pretty much like gets British culture. Like they don't go over the top with the British, but like he's a sophisticated gentleman. Yeah. Clearly evil, but like he's smart and he very capable. And he seems like an ultra rich guy that's out for sort of, domination. Love it. I think he's a great villain. I mean, maybe cartoonish, but that's the type of film we're looking at.
I didn't think he was too cartoonish. I thought he could have been like really over the top. I think, especially in that movie, he really could. I thought he did a nice job of being pretty grounded. He does have some absurd moments that I love. Like again, we're in a time crunch here, and the motherfucker is just like getting a massage in a tent. We have like 60 hours. He's like, I'm gonna get this awesome massage. I don't really care. He doesn't worry at all. I love that about him.
I do like that about him. Like to your point, when he's first meeting with the Illuminati, you're like, we don't have the keys yet, and you have 1 week. He's like, we're gonna have it. 1 week, got it. Yeah. Like, he's not even remotely close to finding the item.
He leaves with his assistant. Are we close? Not at all. Like, oh my god.
Assistant, by the way, Mr. Pims.
Like everybody's like excavating on the site, and he's just like on some like Chase Lounge, just like eating fruit like some Greek god or something. He's having a good time.
He's having a good time. He's got some good lines, like when like he has the like fake backstory. He's like, I'm a lawyer. And he's like, so what's up with you and clocks? He's like, it's my obsession. I find pleasure in my ignorance. Like these lines that are so over the top. I love them. I think that it's fun.
No, I think he does a really good job with the material. Granted, he's not one of the old great villains, but I think he's having some fun. He's not over the top. So I thought it was a pretty fun and good performance.
I totally agree. Matthias Vogel, played by Walton Goggins. I don't have a problem with Goggins himself. Well, I do, but like, I just don't. I don't get it. Like,
yeah, he's kind of a boring.
What do you want?
Villain? Yeah,
he looked like. Unfortunately, like, I think the look kind of is part of it. Like, Walton Goggins doesn't look very intimidating to me, and he looks really like disheveled the whole time.
Yeah.
And he plays more of like a manic, kind of like crazy character. Whereas like when we're talking about Manfred Powell, that air of distinguished gentleman, like he's crazy, but he's in control. And there's moments where he's like, I could kill you now, but I won't. And like he plays like a more traditional villain, whereas Goggins kind of feels like a madman. And I would like to see more nuance from him. I don't know what your take is on it.
I would kind of almost equivocate him to a more boring version of Bella from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's just kind of there, and he is driving the plot forward, so he's good for that. He's not totally useless, but yeah, you're like, what exactly is his motivation? You know, they play a lot of mystery there, like who's he getting his information from for our twist ending?
Yeah.
Which are always fun. I thought he was okay. I give him that. Like, I didn't think his character was that fun. He wasn't too over the top.
No.
I didn't really see him as too much of a threat. He does kill some of the workers, but it just didn't seem that interesting. Maybe they just didn't give him a lot to work with, or maybe it's just portrayal. But it was just kind of an all right performance. I didn't really hate it, but it wasn't really memorable.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not like the acting itself. Like he did an okay job. I just think maybe it's the source material, maybe it's what they had him do. Like I found moments of it hard to sort of follow why the people were still kind of like following him. You know, like I found it difficult to think that guy would have been able to keep control of those mercenaries for that long, considering the item that they're going for. Once you get to Himiko's tomb and you find out like that this is basically a disease, and now you are asking like paid mercenaries to handle like basically bioweapons, or you'll shoot them. It's like, how about the six of us shoot you and we leave this tomb? Because like they don't really have a lot of motivation to be there, and I think that's sort of where I struggled with the character. Was I get he's bad and I guess dangerous, but he doesn't seem that dangerous that people are going to like, oh shit, I can't upset the boss or I'm screwed. Like I just felt like there were other people that could have been just, I'll take over. Like,
yeah, the thing is like he's not the top dog. You know he's working for somebody.
Right.
So obviously they're mercenaries, so they're working for money. So even if they like killed him, they could still get paid by whoever's hired him. So there's no loyalty they don't have towards him.
When you talk about video games and like movies, he doesn't feel like the big bad. You know, he feels like, he's a bad guy and he's a problem, but he doesn't feel like you mentioned, he's not really the person that's making all this happen. He just is the conduit by which that person's working through. But like he's expendable, and we kind of all know that. And I think it weakened the character, whereas like Powell mattered.
Yeah,
you know. And I think that's the major difference that I found between the two films.
And not only that, like Powell, once he gets the power, he turns on the Illuminati.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he wants that power for himself. He was always looking out for number one.
Yep.
So he definitely feels like that big baddie the whole time. Even when he's working for the Illuminati, like you don't really find him more threatening than them.
Yeah.
Even though he's their hired gun. But then he's able to turn it around, he has them all killed, and then he's like so close to getting that power. So he's definitely just a better villain overall.
If he just could have beat her in a foot race, you know?
That
close. Climbing the pyramid to get the thing. And
should we talk about that? Because that was a little weird.
It was really weird, man.
Yeah.
It was weird. So what we're kind of alluding to is in the in Lara Croft Tomb Raider, when they like unlock the key and they have basically gotten to the point where they could control time.
Because all the planets are aligned. It only happens every 5,000 years.
5,000 years, yeah. One shot. 1 in a million, Doc. I got lost.
I got lost
too.
Lost. It's sort of gets like artsy kind of.
Yeah,
It's like
it gets gray and there's a pyramid and they both run and they both jump. And then he like falls into the shadow realm, but he's alive. Like it gets really odd in a way that I don't quite get, and it also allows the reveal that he killed the father. Like I don't quite understand the mechanics of the power.
Exactly. It's one of the most confusing portrayals of time travel I've ever seen in a film. That's for sure. I mean, I guess it's not important exactly how it works. It's just that she's able to get to these places in time that she needs to see. So, the end sort of justifies the means. You don't really need to understand how it works. Just know that something weird and crazy is happening. But, like, before all that happens, they have to have this weird foot race. And it's like, where did that pyramid come from? It's like, are they in reality or are they in, like, an alternate plane?
Right.
It wasn't really explained. And it's like, why are they running to it? Wasn't it just attached right before them? Like, wouldn't the person who attached it still have it in their hand?
You would think.
It was weird.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to sort of like one of the issues that I do have with the original film is that Laura just knows things. So no one's confused that they're in an altered plane and that they're on a pyramid. They're just like, nope, there's a thing I need. And it's just like there's never really a step back to say why, how.
What is happening.
And you know what? It's okay based on the film as presented, but it is confusing. And, once that scene ended, I just kind of just found the next reasonable thing to latch on to.
Exactly, yeah.
It was like,
the same thing.
Whatever that was, cool. I guess she's got the power, and now she can take your knife and it'll hit you instead. But both films do the same thing with the villains, and we should talk about this. Even though there's no reason to have a fair fight, they both decide that we're going to have a fist fight now at the most inopportune time.
And then Powell's fight happens. This fight happens after she's already gone back in time, and he kills her friend Alex West, and then with a knife. But she goes back in time and is able to turn the knife around and stabs him.
Right.
And you think he's dead.
No.
Not only is he not dead, he's in top fighting shape. It was amazing. I was like, oh my god.
He's kicking her ass.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Totally unexpected.
I was sitting there, I was kind of like rooting for the bad guy a little bit. I was like, yeah, right.
Like, everybody's leaving, the cave is collapsing, you think, oh, he's gonna just die there? No, he's ready for one more round.
Let's go. One more
absurd.
Croft. And it's like, wow, if he wasn't stabbed in the heart, I wonder if he was...
Yeah, right?
Like, it wasn't even like the gut. It was like straight up the same thing that killed Daniel Craig, who we'll talk about next. He was just like, rough day in the office. And puts him up and kicks and shit. Oh, man. But this moment that we're having is kind of like the joy of that film.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous and fun.
Right.
And it's just like, all right, let's have fun with this.
Why not? I mean, it's not like it comes out of nowhere. Like, the whole movie's been kind of setting up just absurd fights the whole time. So one more, why not?
Why not? Why not? And then, I mean, again, I want to come back to the end later, but the choices they make after that are fantastic in a very insane way. The same...
Wait. Before we get to that, it is a pretty pointless fight, though, because you could have easily just had him stabbed in the heart, the cave's collapsing, just leave him, and he's dead.
She could have just left.
You could have just left, but no, we have to add one more action sequence.
Even Alex West is like, it's not worth it. He's like, kill my dad, you know what? I want to duke this one out.
So it was a pretty pointless fight that if it wasn't there, you wouldn't have...
Nothing would have changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing would have changed at all. In the reboot, Tomb Raider, so you've got kind of a similar situation where you've got a cave that's starting to collapse. Basically, you find Himiko's tomb. You find her body, and it's sort of revealed that, oh, she's not an evil witch or a sorceress. She was just more or less a sick woman that had like this crazy disease that like
touch me and you die.
Yeah, and like there's really maybe a few people were immune to it, but overall it would have killed so many people. So she exiled herself. Upon learning that, our Vogel character was like, "Well, I can't take the whole body, but give me a finger." Chops off a finger, puts in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, like that's really gonna protect them. Oh my god!
And I'm just like sitting there, like, guys, it's not worth it. Like it is not worth it. Maybe come back later.
Come back later.
Come back later.
Come back with some hazmat suits. You know, like time isn't. There's no time.
There's no
crunch in the remake.
Even if this cave collapsed, even if you guys are so rich. Get a couple of backhoes, come back.
Yeah.
Like you will find this place again.
They've been there for years.
Correct.
They have an unlimited source of wealth to draw from. Just you don't need it right away.
And it's just like that's kind of where I was going with like the motivation, like the sort of Blackwater mercenary guys. There's no reason that if you're just paying me that I'm going to handle biohazardous material because I'm like, you know what, dude? No. And if you try to make me. Fuck you, I'm going to shoot you, and I'll tell the boss to come back later. So you have this kind of ridiculous reveal that's grounded in reality. I'll give you that. The tomb is falling down because her father sacrificed himself. So she's got like her little like pickaxe backhoe. She takes it, and when Vogel offers to like fight her while the tomb's falling down, and she takes a weapon, throws it down, and then like proceeds to mostly get her ass kicked before kind of getting the upper hand. I'm like, dude, there's no reason to have a fair fight with this man. He would kill you and your father at a moment's notice. He literally was going to do that. You have a weapon in your hands. Look, I don't want to bring gender into this, but let's do it. You are a 20-something-year-old woman. This is an insane person that murders for fun. Take that shit. And, use it.
No need to even the playing field at all.
When she threw it down, I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. And the fight goes on for too long. It's preposterous. And, like, the whole time, I might have been able to, like, give it the same appreciation that I gave the Powell fight. But when she threw the weapon down, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this because this doesn't make sense, you know?
But did you like how the fight ended? How she took the finger out of his pocket and crammed it down his throat.
Yeah, that was yeah, man. I hated it.
It was such a weird moment in this movie that's been pretty grounded in reality.
Yeah.
To have this kind of 80s over the top death scene.
Yeah.
It was just
right.
It took me out of it. I was like, why all of a sudden are we becoming an 80s action film?
Yeah, I think it's like it's one of the Jet Li movies, but like Romeo Must Die or something like that. Like one of the plot points is they have like a nuclear weapon. And they just like stuff it in the guy's mouth, and then like he explodes from the inside, but like nothing else happens. And it felt like that. It was like that doesn't make sense. Like it's a nuclear bomb. Like that could just anybody near it is going to die. And I felt the same way here, where it's like, all right, you're handling the same thing that's killing people. Are you immune to it? I don't think you are. So you're right. It turns into a crazy '80s like flesh ripping off. I'm just like And at that point, dude, I was so checked out. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
But she won.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what we're saying is clearly Manfred Powell is the better villain.
Oh, yeah, clearly. And one little thing about Vogel. He also has a very weak motivation. I was talking about, like, they don't have a timestamp. They can just come back later.
Sure.
His motivation is pretty dumb. I want to get off the island. It's pretty weak. I mean, I gotta understand. You've been on an island working for 5 years. You want to get off. But, do you want to get off, and have all your limbs attached and not be like this decaying thing?
Right.
Or do you, just wait a few more days? You don't have to just do it. It's so dangerous what he was doing.
Right.
No, we have to do it now. I need the finger now. It was pretty dumb.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, I get trying to end this years-long thing, but at the same time, like, let's couple more days.
Everybody's going to be fine. Cave, even if the cave like exploded, you got all that money from your investors. You'll be fine, man. Should we talk about the friends of Lara?
Sure.
We have, as you said before, Daniel Craig, James Bond playing Alex West. We have Noah Taylor, another Game of Thrones alum, playing Bryce. He was also in the Vanilla Sky remake that we reviewed last time. And we have her butler, Hillary, and that's the Lara Croft movie. And then the remake, or the new one, we have Lu Ren, her dad's buddy's son.
I think we'll start with Alex West because he kind of falls into antagonist territory. So before we kind of get into more friends, sure. Again, from the series, this is a callback to the games. Alex West is a character.
Okay.
He is basically her rival. So, so he does the same thing, and they kind of constantly compete over rating tombs. So there's also clearly a bit of a romance element as well. They kind of hate each other, but it's because they kind of like each other.
Again, Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Parallels.
And, Daniel Craig in it.
Yeah, pretty much. Daniel Craig in it with an American accent?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. They both get to trade shower scenes,
Yeah.
Who's hotter? It's a decent portrayal. He comes across as like a rival. He's working with the big bad guys, but he does have a line. Like ultimately, he's not that bad.
Right.
He's in it for the treasure, not necessarily for the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not really anything that sort of backdrop him against in the reboot. But I did want to take some time personally to say that I thought Daniel Craig was fine. I thought that he added to the movie. Stakes were raised when he died. So overall, a good character for me. But because there's not really something to sort of juxtaposition him against, nothing from me other than I like Daniel Craig's portrayal.
I thought he was fine. Sort of that gray character. He's not really, he's good if he's bad.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, James Bond. You don't want him to be bad, but he's kind of working for the bad guys.
Yeah.
But then he ultimately becomes a good guy in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And, decent character. Portrayed fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes we don't take into account that just doing your job is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because he's not detracting from the movie.
Yeah, he's not the star of the movie, so it's not like he has to do anything super spectacular. But
No.
I didn't see his portrayal and go, man, I wish this character wasn't here. No, I like this character.
Yeah. I think too that it's another thing for her to kind of have a back and forth with. Which fits the original series as well.
So there you go.
Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce and Hillary are more equals to Lu Ren.
I would say so. Bryce is kind of like your techie guy.
Yeah.
Going back to the Italian Job.
I was thinking, yes.
He is the Napster.
Yes. I'm happy you thought that too. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah, he's your tech guy. Anything tech-wise, techno babble, bang, bang, boom, got it done.
Yep. Got to break into something, code break, or create robots to try to kill my boss for training purposes, of course.
Also, the sort of the comedic relief at the same time.
Absolutely. And Bryce, that's it. He's a tech guy. You've seen it in a million movies. Again, does his job well. Pretty much from an acting perspective, you tap on the keyboard and you say words, and you're nailing it.
Yeah.
Hillary, who I found to be, again, some of the comedic relief as well, but I like the character a lot. He's really endearing. He's deeply committed to Lara Croft, and probably more so the Croft family name. He feels like kind of like a
like an Alfred.
Yeah, definitely like an Alfred. To the point where, like, just like Alfred Pennyworth, sometimes he kicks a little bit of ass. Like, there's some fight scenes. He'll go get his shotgun and shoot it, basically like Navy SEALs do. So, Bryce and Hillary, fun supporting characters. They help drive plot in some ways because they help the main villain, the protagonist, look out for that guy by the Aston Martin, or, or I'm going to shoot at the guy. Like, it's a fun character that, like, also helps explain how our protagonist is able to do things, because she's not riding solo. She's got help. She's got a support system. And I like him. I find him to be fun and funny.
Yeah, I thought they were okay. I think you liked them more than I did. I thought
Probably.
they were pretty by the books, like kind of sidekicks, comic reliefs.
Yeah.
They're not really that important.
No, they're not.
They're there for a few laughs. Show that our protagonist has a support system.
Yeah.
They did okay, but there's a million of them in a million movies, so I didn't think they were anything special, and I was okay with the portrayals. I could take them or leave them.
Yeah. I would say that again, it's kind of like the Daniel Craig situation where like by doing the thing that you're kind of hired for,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
Yeah, I liked his character more though because Daniel Craig.
Okay.
Yeah, because I like characters that aren't just necessarily good or bad, that they kind of walk the line between both. So I like that more than just kind of this yuck yuck. Here you go. Yeah, boss, let me do this. Oh, you did the thing. I told you not to do the thing. Wear the dress. You're wearing the dress.
Yeah.
It's like
you killed my robot.
Yeah, it's like
you're right. There
for me, it was a few more sighs than laughs.
Yeah, I can get down with that. I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since I played the original series. I think Hillary does come into play. I don't think that's just a made-up character. Bryce probably as well. Like I believe they're sticking pretty close to source material. So, the butler's like, "Oh, you ruined another vice" or stuff like that. Like, yeah, you're right. It's a side character, but I get enough out of them that I'm okay with them, especially when we're comparing him to Lou Ren.
Lou Ren. Like I said, he's the son of Laura's father's colleague. Yeah, she stumbles upon him when she's looking for the boat that she found in this one random invoice among a million papers.
Yeah.
And she's going to go with this one lead. I think this boat means something.
Right.
So I'll start with him. I like how he started in the film.
Yeah.
He was kind of a drunk. He was kind of the comedic relief, where I thought he was going to be the kind of this comic relief who was going to play against our protagonist a lot, but he's gone like after a few minutes, and I was kind of bummed that he didn't really get to do anything because he seemed like an interesting character. This kind of guy who kind of gave up on life. He's just going to be drunk the rest of his days, but now here's this girl whose father went through the same thing your father went through, and maybe she's going to sort of, maybe kickstart your life again, and then I thought his journey would be an interesting one to see alongside with hers, but he just gets shafted, and I was kind of bummed that we lost him.
It makes you sort of wonder, like, why even hire Daniel Wu if you're not going to have him do anything? Like, all right, like you said, he starts as a drunk, and like that's cool, nice character arc. We see a flaw kind of early on that he can overcome.
Yeah.
They both more or less get captured. He just kind of does the slave work that everyone else does. And then, dude, Daniel Wu, throw a couple sidekicks, man. Like, what are we doing here? Like, use him. Yeah. Use him. He's there, and like you said, he's just kind of gone. And it's unfortunate because he could have been a very strong character.
Yeah, like I said, they set up a really good story for him to go somewhere. There's places he could have went with that arc, but it kind of just fills out, and it kind of goes somewhere, but they don't really focus on it, so you don't really care about him at all, or his character. And after a while, he's literally just standing there, just waiting for like a good chunk of the movie while our protagonist actually goes and reads the tune. And it's, why couldn't he?
He should have been there.
Yeah, they should have used him more. Yeah. They definitely underused his character.
I mean, even if he, again, like, these are action movies. There's all kinds of tropey things you can do. Here, throws her a gun. Like, hits another guy. Like, there's a place for your sidekick to do things. And, like, Alex West does things in the movie. A lot of times against our protagonist. Like, in the same vein, there could have been a space for Lou Ren to maybe play kind of with the bad guys for a second and then have a redemptive arc. I just don't know why they sort of squandered introducing that character, because it's not like there's a lot of characters in the movie to work with anyway. So if he's there, you use him.
Exactly. Just missed opportunity for sure.
Completely. Which doesn't give us a lot to discuss. I just found that the collection of sidekicks in the original film, again, part of this comes back to the tone, help with the tone, where it's like, yes, there's action, yes, there's seriousness, but it's mostly kind of a funny movie.
Yeah.
It's a action comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and in a way that this other film is more real and gritty, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't let their characters do real and gritty things as much as I think they should.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and I feel like the Lou Ryan character, there could have been like some good back and forth between him and Laura. They had pretty good dynamic when they were first introduced, and it was see them separated. It made his character a lot less interesting.
Yeah, and I think that from the perspective of again the source material in that Tomb Raider sort of reboot, there are large portions where she's by herself. It's kind of focusing on her survival and her instincts, and maybe that's what they're going for. But unfortunately, by not giving Lou maybe like something he's doing on the side, whether it's I'm gonna attach a satellite so that we can get a distress signal, like give him something to do, even if the two characters are separated. And I think he has his own sort of arc and focus that we wouldn't be having this discussion.
I think they should have just gotten rid of her dad.
Yeah,
and it should have just been
totally.
Should have been just two of them the whole time.
Because you could have even had like a reveal where Lou Ren's like, "Look, your dad's gone." Like he could have maybe told some story because you had the villain tell a story that was not true. Because we know the dad's alive. So like maybe Lou Ren could have had some information or
they could have discovered some instead of having the dad in the cave. Maybe they hid some notes in the cave,
right?
And they find it after all these years. And it's like, oh my god!
Or like there's like a page missing, but it's from his dad's map. Or something. I'm not saying that these are like creative ideas, but I mean they fit the structure of film, and I think that there were some missed opportunities that they left on the table.
Definitely. All right, so that's pretty much all the characters, Reggie. Mm-hmm. Should we get into the action?
Fine. Yes. I've been wanting to talk about this for the past for the past hour and 14 minutes.
So I guess before we get into just a brief overview. Pretty much your fun wire-fu bungee ballet of the Lara Croft versus this more gritty, like we said, a lot of like that Muay Thai MMA stuff, and included with some CGI though at times.
At times. The original film and its sequel, The Cradle of Life, are action blockbuster movies. Angelina Jolie's character gets to do a lot of cool, badass stuff that at times doesn't make any sense, but man, is it fun. Like, from your opening sequence, she's fighting like a robot, and you're like, oh shit, where's this robot come from? And if you're not familiar with kind of like source material or stuff like that, you're just like, what's going on here?
I thought you was in a tomb, there's a robot.
You would think so. And I mean, it's consistent with the character who does do different things like that. They're usually tutorials, but like, but she's at her home and she does do different training things like that. So it's like, you're like, oh shit, like, look at her fighting this robot. And then you're like, oh, it comes back up and you think it's about to kill her and she tells it to stop. And you have this reveal that, nope, I'm at home and this is what I do and I'm going to throw in Laura's party mix.
Yeah.
And it's like, that opening sequence gives you such a good tone for not just the movie, but the franchise. They're like, this is what we're going with, people. There's going to be thrills, there's going to be action, but there's going to be fun. And right there, you get that from that opening sequence.
Yeah, it definitely sets the tone. I'm not a big fan of the wire fu. She's kind of going through the air and not moving, but her whole body's flying in the air. But it definitely set the tone for me. I knew exactly what I was going to expect. And I'll expand upon that opening sequence because not only do you get that crazy, ridiculous action, you get the jokes, and then like right after that, what do you get? You get your shower scene.
Yeah.
Right in the first 7 minutes of the film, you know exactly what type of film you're going to watch. So even though it's like
guns and boobs,
guns and boobs, it's so absurd, but like you set the tone, so okay, I know exactly what I'm getting into. So as much as you might not like that, or you at least know right away, okay, this is the movie.
Right.
There's not going to be any deep, meaningful message that I'm looking for here. I know exactly what I'm in store for.
If you're flipping channels and you're asking yourself, do I want to watch this? You'll know right there.
Yeah,
like if you're checked out there, then this is not the movie for you, and that's fine. But like you mentioned, the bungee ballet is a little over the top, but it's a big set action piece.
She's just in her house doing some bungee ballet.
And Hillary's like, "Don't stay up too late."
Yeah, listening to classical music. No worry, I'm just gonna go up and down for an hour. It's like, what are you? What are you doing?
I don't.
What's the point of that?
How does that help with tune rating?
Is that how she thinks?
Yeah.
I know some people need to walk when they think. Some people need to bungee ballet when they think. Maybe.
Well, I guess from like if you think about like the super rich, almost like a fantasy factory type of setting, it's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I guess.
I can set up a bungee cord in my house and like do flips and ballet, and
it sets up a completely ridiculous home invasion with like an army just destroying it. Oh my god! And she's not getting touched. She's maybe breaking a little bit of a sweat.
Yeah.
She's not getting dirty. She didn't get cut. Her hair's perfect. Oh my god, it's so absurd. But like we said, that opening sequence sets it up. So you're like, I guess.
She never really picks up a gun.
Really?
I mean, maybe for like a second, but like most of the guys she kills, like she cuts the guy's cords. She like chops people and knocks them out. But like even when like the time came. Maybe this is to keep whatever rating they got. I'm sure it was like PG-13 tops. Maybe that was to keep the rating. But like when she does finally go to her gun cabinet, it's locked for some reason. And she ends up using
I thought that was weird.
I thought it was super weird. And she's basically using like it might as well have been a plunger gun. like I don't know. It was a little weird, especially considering that like when you think about Lara Croft, her sort of iconic weapon of choices. She's got two basically like Desert Eagles that she just shoots and they never run out of ammo. Mm-hmm. And it's like
they do run out of ammo, but she has this reloading mechanism behind her back.
Yeah. Well, in the games they never run out of ammo. But like I found it, got it. If a group of mercenaries comes in and home invades her while she's in her pajamas while on a on a bungee cord. I don't care. I can handle that situation. It's absurd and it's a lot of fun.
It is. They're definitely going for a fun feel because she's never like really worried or panicked. She's definitely smiling a lot.
Yeah.
She definitely looks like she's having fun. There's definitely you don't feel any threat of danger. You're not like, oh, something bad's going to happen to one of these three people, but you know they're going to be fine just because. Also, during all these action sequences, we have intense techno music just in the background, just boom, boom, boom. So
it's kind of like this movie's equivalent to the lobby scene in The Matrix.
Yeah,
it's just like
just do the lobby scene all the time, all lobby scene.
It's all lobby scene. It's what we got. And I found that to be, again, the word I keep coming back to is fun. I'm not going to say these are like smart, great movies, but they're a lot of fun. The remake, I like that they kind of open with her doing like the Muay Thai and like doing a practical fight scene, and she's not really good yet.
No,
the movie's trying to establish that like these are origins. She will be the badass one day, but right now she's still learning.
Yep.
Cool with that. Got it. Their equivalent to the bungee ballet is a bike race. Like, it's a bike race, man. Like, and look, I love the grit, the realism. She's getting her ass kicked in Muay Thai and like two badass chicks going at it. But then she's stealing apples. She's playing like the paint can Fox and the Hound race, and she's like basically a courier racing against other like fixed gear bike racers throughout the city before she gets caught. And it's just like, that is actually one of the bigger action scenes in the film. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we are wasting space and time because it doesn't matter if she gets caught in this bike race. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter because she's not going to come back to it. It's not like she's going to ride a bike in the jungle. So it's like, here's a skill set that cool. It's grounded in reality and it shows that she's kind of crafty and can figure her way through situations, but it has nothing to do with raiding tombs. Mm-hmm. And she's frankly really not even that good at that. Mm-hmm. So it opens up the next scene of like signing off or not signing off on her father's death certificate, but like I was just sitting there like, why am I watching this?
Yeah, it definitely felt like it belonged in another movie. I'll say this: it's kind of pointless, but it's kind of a cool sequence. It's kind of a cool idea that this Fox and Hound thing. It's kind of a cool game.
In another film,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But now that you're talking about it, yeah, you could just cut it out and just have her talking to Anna right away,
or like maybe you play in this non sort of jungle space a little bit more, and maybe show some other kind of sequences like that kind of show her metal, as it were. Like you said, I don't hate the scene, the way it's shot, and like how it looks. I just hate it in this film. Like there was a while back, there was like that Joseph Gordon-Levitt bike racy movie. I don't even remember. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in a movie where he was like, same thing, he was a courier, and they did a lot of like scenes like that.
Okay.
And in that movie, that would have been pretty goddamn cool. Again, I'm trying not to be too hard on it, but when your backdrop is Bungee Ballet, and you're giving me this, you got to help me out. You got to give me maybe a couple more scenes of her, like, I don't know, she's in her backyard shooting arrows, or like she goes to the gun range. Like you got to give me something besides, I'm a courier and I can like bike fast, or make that come back.
Yeah.
You know, like give me a callback to the bike thing. Maybe she, I don't know, has paint and that's how she finds the guy in the jungle. You know what I mean? Like, as stupid as it is, like,
yeah.
Call it back.
Yeah, because it is pretty much a pointless scene. It's a cool action sequence, but it's kind of a pointless one when you really have to think about it. But I don't know. I think they were just trying to just show her different skill sets, maybe.
I agree, and I'm trying not to be too harsh, but like, even like the source material they're drawing from, that's not really a thing that happens. I guess they're not just dropping her right into the journey, which is probably where I think this movie has its stumbles, is that what they're drawing from actually kind of starts from like basically the boat.
Yeah.
Like the getting stranded is sort of where they started. They had to actually draw back and sort of build out her life and show what she's been doing. And look, the scene handles what the scene does, but like I'm just unfortunately having to compare it to something that's just a little bit more interesting from a perspective of this type of movie.
It could be maybe that it's willing to showing you the depth she's willing to go to get money, because
that's true.
She's going to do this absurd race throughout the city and get hit by a cop car, even though she has all this money waiting for her, which we don't learn until after the bike race. So maybe it's there for that.
Possibly. And I'll put it this way, too. I like the scene.
No, I like the scene, too. But I didn't realize how pointless it was until you brought it up. I was like, oh.
and unfortunately, like, that's the same type of scene in the original film that I wouldn't even say anything about, because it's supposed to be crazy. Like, this is supposed to be real. And I guess this is a real life situation, but like, I don't see how it prepares her for what she's got to do. Whereas like the Muay Thai, I get it. Yeah. Like the Muay Thai, I'm like, all right, fuck it. Yeah, you're a fighter. This is like, okay, I get it. You're crafty and you will go through a lot of limps, but like it's a fairly long sequence for ultimately like a skill set that has nothing to do with what she's going to encounter later. You're actually kind of better off flipping the order. Like if you do that as your kind of opening crawl, and then have her like, see you bike guys, I'm gonna go to Muay Thai training. I think like I would have less problems with it, because that is an opening sequence of like, oh shit, look at her.
Yeah,
works better for me than like we've already kind of established the character and then we do that.
And then we do a side quest. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to be a dick. But just like I found trouble with the tone, I guess.
Yeah.
You still get the same type of shit. Like at the end of the Tomb Raider movie, Lara Croft for some reason has a dog sled, and she's just like skating with like she's not really even on a sled. It's just like debris, and she's just like,
I thought she was just on her boots doing it, just standing.
maybe
I don't know,
remember, man.
It was weird.
It was like, all right, I just beat Powell in a fight. Good thing these dogs are here, mush, and like that's again an equally absurd and pointless scene. But
it's kind of they already kind of established that it's an absurd movie, so you're able to buy it more than if they make the gritty one.
Yeah, whereas like this Fox and Hound scene isn't even absurd. It's just all right. It's kind of like a day in the life, but like that day in the life didn't feel like it had anything to do with what would then go forward. Was I guess my only point about it. Jeez, I don't want to slow down the momentum. I mean, can you remember, other than the last fight in that film? Can you remember another like big action sequence besides
in the new one? Yeah, there was the waterfall scene was pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
I thought
you're right. That was cool. And
it reminded me a lot of Uncharted.
Yeah, well, the game kind of feels like that, and like that's the type of thing that would have been in that game. So like, you're right. That felt good. That felt good.
She's like in this plane on this waterfall, which is pretty cool. You don't really see planes on waterfalls like that, and then she gets on it, and then the wing breaks, and then she has to jump into the actual plane, and then the plane starts going down. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" And then like it breaks, and then she has to parachute out, and that was pretty cool.
That was actually really cool.
Yeah. They don't really do too much CGI. I mean, obviously you had to do CGI for that, but like it never took me out of the film. Where like, oh, this is boring. I thought that sequence, the whole waterfall thing, was pretty cool.
I think you're right about that.
Even when they're on the boat before they crash the ship, I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, and I think that's where the movie succeeds, because like all the things you're talking about are like represented in the franchise that they're pulling from. Like that reboot does action sequences like that kind of consistently, and they usually end with the character being kind of jacked up. Like she'll get stabbed in the gut, or she'll like twist it. Like she gets beat to shit in that game series, and they pull it back a little bit in this movie. But I think you're right that even like the parkour where the guys steal her stuff and she has to like chase them.
Yeah.
Like that stuff felt good, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think I'm harping on one scene that I kind of didn't like, and let it kind of flavor my feeling about the rest of the movie. You're right, that was a badass scene.
That was pretty cool. And just going back to the Uncharted thing, as I was watching the remake, the whole thing is like this tomb, and then it's like a disease, and it kills people. The first Uncharted game is kind of the same plot.
Yeah.
We go after El Dorado, which is apparently somebody's tomb, and it's spreading a disease. It doesn't kill people, but it makes everybody go insane.
Right.
So it's like, you stole from Uncharted. Dip.
Probably.
I mean, they're the same kind of game.
They're very much like Uncharted. Yeah, no, they're more or less the same type of game. It's like taking that type of video game and putting Lara Croft in it, which I think is a smart call, because that.
But Tomb Raider came out way before Uncharted ever did.
Well, like Tomb Raider, but like this reboot though.
Oh yeah.
Uncharted, like the Nathan Drake series was happening, and that they basically took a page out of that book with an older character.
Yeah.
And honestly, to pretty good success. Like I actually think that the reboot of Lara Croft has been wildly successful, and they should probably keep going down that route. Clearly, this movie is kind of set up to. It's set up to do a sequel, which I don't think will ever happen.
It will. Yeah.
Yeah?
Because they're filming it this year.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it's going to be released in 2021.
So we should do Cradle of Life in the sequel.
We should.
Our first and only sequel. Wow. Okay. Cool, man. Well, you know what? They've given themselves some good run here. Like I said, I think what this movie does well is establishes itself to like kind of continue doing these types of films in that more realistic vein. So I think the biggest issue that they had in this film was that they had to both introduce a character and the problem. And like this was an origin story, and you have to do a lot of origin story things before you get to like your big set pieces.
Right.
Whereas like I think the other film had the luxury of just
just go for it. And because, like we said, they set up how absurd it was. It didn't really matter so much. You didn't really have to follow the plot.
Yeah.
As long as you're having a good time, look at this cool action sequence. Hey, techno. Hey, side boob.
Yeah. No, but I'm glad that we were bringing this up because you're right. That type of action sequence is really cool. Like the plane thing was very, very cool, and I almost like let myself forget about it because of some other complaints I had about the film. Like which makes sense that they're doing this again because they, on certain levels, they did succeed. In a way that I'm probably wasn't giving them enough credit.
Did you want to talk about the ending now?
Yeah. Let's talk about the endings. More or less in Lara Croft Tomb Raider, she fights Powell for reasons.
For why not? Oh, by the way, can I just say, like, I also like when they go to, like, the cold place in Russia.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's all bundled up in, like, heavy, thick coats. Laura's got, like, her really tight skin suit on, and then this really light thing where you can still see her body.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to cover up that body.
No, we can't.
Not at all. And she didn't look cool, though.
No, she
never up perfectly. It was the suit.
No hair is ever out of place. Nothing, other than, like, she took a couple punches in that last fight, but other than that, nothing bad happens to Lara Croft.
No,
she's just too smart for you. Too quick. You get the dog sled scene. I guess she does destroy the artifact so it can't be used again.
Yeah, she shoots it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Before he goes in, I think, because I was being such a hater on the bike scene, I did forget to say that equally dumb things happen in the first film. And she does shoot a lot of, like, things that come to life, like statues that come to life. And the original Lara Croft solves her problems by shooting things. This other Lara Croft solves her problems by, like, grit, determination, and, like, fighting through it. And I think the movies both hit the tone that they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. I was being a hater, and I freely admit it. But yeah, I mean, like you said in the endings, she shoots the thing, she leaves, and she goes home. What does she do? She plays with more. Well,
puts on a dress.
Puts on a dress.
Finally, why? Because we mentioned it in the beginning of the movie, so we have to have it at the end.
She's a lady, and I guess she's finally accepted her father's death, maybe, and that's why she can put on a dress.
Maybe,
but not too fast. Nothing's changed because even though she's wearing a dress, she's still going to shoot some robots.
Here comes Simon the robot, and with a freeze frame. Where's your head at?
Where's your head at?
I was like, oh man, I forgot about this.
Yeah,
song.
man. What a classic. Yeah, that's kind of how that movie works.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, at least, like, you don't feel like you were bamboozled. Like you said, you know in the first 7 minutes if this is the type of movie for you.
If you didn't like what you saw then, you're not going to like it.
Exactly. If you expected it to get any better or any deeper, what were you thinking? This is exactly the movie it is the whole time.
This is not Godfather 2.
And yeah, they accomplished their mission. It was this absurd, techno-driven ride that was fun, and yeah, it worked.
Yeah, just we'll get into some of the music stuff later, but like techno shooty, like it's something that audiences understand. We do it in a lot of series, whether it's the Lara Croft, like we mentioned, The Matrix, and I mean you could pretty much take guns and loud techno music, and it's gonna work. The ending of Tomb Raider, we talk about the fight scene that's kind of unnecessary. She does more or less solve the problem. She does lose her dad finally, and
it was kind of badass at one moment during the ending though, because there's a chasm of like corpses, and the only way they got across was that ladder. And then she's kind of like she has this badass moment where she's like she doesn't want the Vogel to escape, so she just kicks the ladder off. She's like, none of us are getting across. I was like, that's kind of a fucking badass move.
Yeah, no, like especially like you mentioned, towards like the middle and the end, you're right. Like the action sequences that she's in are badass. Like you got the plane scene. Like you said, the fight scene is actually really well choreographed. I think part of it is I'm not really buying Vogel.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, she's doing some really cool shit, like jumping over stuff, the pickaxe, and
that's a move from the game. That's what I read on
Totally.
Wikipedia, where she like is able to cling onto walls using that pickaxe.
Completely. So like, yeah, she's doing badass shit, and she beats up Vogel, like you mentioned. She's selfless because she'll kick out her only means of escape if it means protecting the world. And I think that's pretty consistent throughout the film, that she doesn't let her motivation or her own selfish ideas get in the way. Like, she really could care less about her wealth. She really could care less about things.
Well-being.
Yeah. As long as at the end of the day, I guess she cared about her family and everyone else. So it's I find both characters to be like this to an extent, but like especially more in the original, a very selfless character that just whatever it takes to get it done. And that's what's admirable about this version of Lara Croft. Once she finally gets off the island, starts getting a little weird. I mean, we mentioned it, but it sets up the sequel. We find out that
Anna, the employee that's kind of been urging Laura to sign this death certificate, the corporation that was funding Vogel. No, not Trinity.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Trinity's like a subsidiary.
I don't know. Trinity, I guess, was hiring them. I don't exactly know the connection, but there was another corporation. It began with like a P or something.
Right. That's right.
It wasn't exactly Trinity. Yeah, it was something else. And then she's like going again. She's flipping through this monster book. Just happens to go to this one random page and finds the company whose logo has been on like all the guns and explosives on that excavation site.
And it turns out it's part of her own company.
Yeah, it's her own company. So we're led to assume that it was Anna the whole time that was sort of in charge of everything, and it's her fault that her dad was trapped on that island.
Absolutely. A little bit of forensics accounting. She figures that out.
Everybody's just like finding a name in a ledger by accident. She didn't even. If she did it on a computer, maybe I can believe it. But she just flipped 1-2 pages and was like, "Oh," and then we're like, "What? What did she see?"
And then they do the thing like where they take like photos that you've already seen, but like now we zoom in, we have context. Like Anna's here and she's there. Oh my God, she's been pulling the strings.
Yeah.
And
she was the voice at the other end of the walkie-talkie talking to Vogel.
Well, I'm glad that that too. I'm glad that you mentioned there's going to be a sequel, because I felt like in my mind it was like, well, I don't know I didn't really know how the movie did, so I was like, I don't know if they're going to do this.
It didn't do great domestically, but it did a lot overseas. So I think it was able to make enough money.
Good. So, and I mean, like, honestly, despite some of my complaints, really about some of the characterizations, mostly the dad.
Yeah.
The villain could have been a little bit stronger. And because I think those things were a little weak for me, I started to kind of check out in scenes that I think otherwise I would have been interested in. I think if they go back to the well, they'll have this base established. They won't have to reestablish things, and they can just kind of throw her into an adventure. And I think that that's going to serve this characterization well. Because like we mentioned before, the same way Angelina Jolie nailed her portrayal, Alicia really lands this character. And hopefully they give her a little bit more to work with next time around.
And don't forget, after that ending, though, there is the PS scene that we get, right? She goes back to the pawn shop where Nick Frost came in. That was a pretty funny scene.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, I'm not flirting. I'm flirting a little bit. So she goes back to the shop to buy back this jewel that her dad gave her, but she sold it earlier to get some funding for her journey. Mm-hmm. And, of course, while she's there, she sees some guns.
Yeah.
And what's Lara Croft without those dual Desert Eagles, like you said?
Pistols,
so she's got the guns, and I'm surprised they didn't end with a freeze frame, too. They should have done it just the same
way. Both films are, again, fit the films that they're intended for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's wearing a dress, like a little bit of, again, fan service. She's still a lady. And in this, where it's like we're setting up for bigger and better things for Lara Croft down the line, which is perfect when you're talking about an origin story. Yeah. You set everything up for the future. And I'm actually interested to see where they go with that.
Yeah. There's not much more we can talk about. I guess I have a note about the music. Like I said before, I didn't really watch the first film too much, but I knew the soundtrack a lot. It has U2 and 9 Inch Nails Deep. When I heard Deep playing in the Lara Croft
Yeah.
movie. I was like, oh man, I love this song. I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan.
Yeah.
I've seen them live a bunch of times. So I love that song. It sucks too because I can't. Okay, iTunes. This goes out to iTunes. You don't sell your songs individually on this album. Why? I don't want to buy the whole album. I just want to buy Deep.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say that to iTunes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's got good music, techno music. Where's your head at? So I love the soundtrack of the Lara Croft movie. It fits exactly the tone perfectly.
So you like Laura's party mix?
Oh yeah. Well, not all of it, but you know, like you too. I used to do that Elevation song. I used to sing that all the time when I was younger. So very nostalgic soundtrack for me, even though I never really watched the movie.
Money well spent. Money well spent, because those rights were not cheap.
Yeah, I'm sure. The new movie, I didn't really notice too much. I noticed there was like maybe some hip hop sounds early on before she goes on her journey, but other than that, it pretty much goes just to like score.
Yeah, right.
There's not really any hits.
Maybe one of the reasons maybe domestically may have struggled is that it feels way more kind of London-y and British than probably most American audiences are used to. So like some of the hip hop, which to me sounded like it's from it's hip hop, but it's like from Europe. So it wasn't stuff that I really recognized. But yeah, I mean, again, grounded in that the time and realism. So forgettable, but wasn't.
But it fit the tone. I don't think it didn't take me out of the movie. I'm like, whoa, what's this music all of a sudden? It's like, you know, you're trying to set up Laura and this music she would listen to. She wouldn't be listening to U2 and Nine Inch Nails probably.
No, especially not this one, because like again, kind of going back to my own haterdom. When you're looking at someone who's like a courier, she's kind of like young, cool. She's hip, you know. She trains Muay Thai. She does like a lot of interesting kind of cool things. Like it would make sense that person who's listening to that type of music. She's not like, you know, blasting techno and stuff like that. Yeah. Chill, cool guy, cool girl vibes, you know. And then, like you mentioned, after that, once you start getting in the jungle, which makes sense because you see this a lot in those jungle themes in films, you go more to the score, you get more orchestral, and worked.
Yeah, it worked.
So you also had setting in here.
I really noticed a lot in the original Lara Croft that just the locations. Like I said, Angelina usually signed on so she can go to these different locations, and they really get a lot. They got some beautiful shots of these countries. I thought Cambodia looked amazing. Yeah,
they got some really good shots. Slight spoiler, they really kind of pick up in the next film, because I started watching a little bit of the sequel, and they start in, I think they go to Venice, Santorini, and stuff like that. So like this series loves a locale, and if you're gonna put Lara Croft in the locale, you're going to find a cool outfit for every country she goes to.
Oh, yeah. She looked pretty good when she was in Cambodia.
Yeah.
With the monks. They got all these monks wearing their attire, and then she's wearing a sexy version of it. Because why not? I have that in my notes a lot, too. Because why not?
that is that movie in a nutshell. Because why not? Like
we got to show off your sexy body, because why not?
This is a long shower.
And then they got some locations too.
It looked good
in the remake.
It looked good.
Hong Kong. They didn't really go to like too many exotic. You just see like a ship dock, and then you're on this island off Japan, but it kind of looks like any island. Yeah, it could have been anywhere. So you didn't really get much of the culture on the locations in the remake.
Which maybe they'll pick that up in when they do the sequel, because I mean, like you mentioned, the pawn shop. Even though she has vast wealth at her disposal, she like pawned something for like $10,000, not even, because $8 now. So like she funds her whole adventure on $8,000, so she's not going to hit a lot of different locations. Yeah. Whereas like rich later Laura can do whatever she wants, like whatever she wants. She can go to space.
So I'll just say that for the Lara Croft movie, as absurd as it might be, I do appreciate a lot of it's practical. You're shooting on location. These are real. They're really doing the effects, even though they're hooked up to a million wires to fly through the air like that. But I do appreciate like all the practical stuff they did in the Lara Croft movie.
Yeah, I found it. I liked it.
All right. Unless there's anything else you want to go over, I think we should be giving our verdict.
No, I think we kind of nailed it here.
Okay, cool. All right, so verdict time. Reggie, Should the remake, oh, I'm sorry, the reboot, should this Tomb Raider movie exist?
I was starting to come in here to say no today, but based on our discussion, um, here's why it should exist. When I look at the source material, they are more or less following it. The source story is actually a little bit more compelling, but I understand making cuts and stuff for Hollywood. The actress looks the way she's supposed to. She acts the way that she's supposed to in terms of physicality and like her tone. I think where the movie struggles is in the other characters, and I think that if they are able to sort of tighten that up going forward, it's fine. I didn't find anything to be so egregious that, though it's not a movie I think I'm going to watch often or really revisit, it worked. It was a Tomb Raider movie. It did what it was supposed to do for the franchise. My beefs are with certain scenes, and I just never really believed the villain. But I think that Alicia's portrayal was strong enough that the movie should exist, because when it comes to video game movies, this is actually stronger for the genre.
Yeah.
So I can't hate too much. I liked it enough that it should exist.
Cool. Going into watching the remake, I know the original is absurd and supposed to be absurd. It's not exactly like something that I usually enjoy watching.
Yeah.
I might have it on in the background, but it's not like my cup of tea, I suppose. So I was really looking forward to the gritty setting that they were going to introduce in the new one, because you could just see from the trailers and everything. While it's not the best movie, or even a great movie, I think it was good enough that it was worth the ride. I like what Alicia did with the Lara Croft character. I thought it was a pretty strong portrayal of her. I really liked the first half of the movie, and then kind of around the time that she finds her dad, it really starts to go downhill for me, and I kind of zoned out, and then they go through the pyramid, and it's just kind of boring by the numbers at that point. But I think they really had a lot of interesting stuff there in the beginning. And it didn't end great or anything, but I think they did more good than bad with the reboot. So overall, I'd say I had a good time, and I am looking forward to see where they go with the sequel.
I would actually check it out.
Yeah.
I think a line that you just said there kind of maybe just kind of clicked with me and my sort of feeling about the film. I think, like you mentioned, if the first half, if more of the movie was like the first half, I wouldn't have had that complaint about that one scene. But then it kind of shifts to the back half, which is the less compelling part of the film.
Yeah.
And I think that I honestly would have enjoyed more of the European, like the London scenes. And I think if they would have built that out more and maybe set up, maybe, I don't know, Finding the Dad or something as more of a sequel. Like, this was like a 2-part film. I think I would have had more fun with it. And it's just one of those things where, like, when a movie shifts in tone and, like, things start to feel like they're disconnected, I start to check out as a movie watcher personally.
Yeah. Because it was pretty interesting. It was, like, so curious to see where they were going. And then it's like, all right, we found the dad. Now we just got to get to the thing. Now, what happens between finding the dad and getting the thing? It's like, it has to be interesting enough for it to keep my attention. And it wasn't really that interesting. They went back to the camp. They kind of saved people. It was pretty by the numbers by the time from that point to the end. So I've seen it in so many movies before. So yeah, I just mentally checked out. I'm like, all right, just let me know when you get to the thing. I didn't think the tomb itself was very interesting.
That was a problem too.
Yeah, the traps and the puzzles they had to solve. I thought, I don't know. I mean, it just bringing out Indiana Jones again. You go Last Crusade, like that was such an interesting, temple or whatever just sequence of like having to deal with these ancient riddles or devices and stuff.
Yeah,
and it just it fell pretty flat for me. So that's why I really didn't like the second half of the movie, but I really liked what they set up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. It wasn't like 101 Dalmatians where they went home alone and just completely changed the movie. It fit the tone of the movie well, but I just didn't find it as interesting as the first half.
Yeah, it's right there. Like you said, it's good enough.
Yeah.
And it was good enough that it should exist, because I think there are way worse ways to show that material, and I think that given what they were working with, how they cast, and it generally seemed like they cared about the story and the franchise. Yeah, hey, take another crack at it. Why not? It's better than half the stuff Louis Ball's ever done.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Half, all of it.
Those are some bad video game movies.
Yeah.
But you know, lore begins, the franchise kind of begins. You know, I'll give it some leeway since it's like kind of her beginning.
Yeah.
You know, if the second adventure's like that, then I'm gonna be like, I'm kind of out.
Check out. Both of these films, I imagine, fall under the top 10 video game movies.
Yeah,
of all time.
I think so.
Of all time. So, hey, you could do worse.
Yeah. I thought you were really going to be a no. You were hating on that action.
I was a no, and then you kind of brought me back because, like, I think that, like, I let myself say, why do I care there? But then you kind of, like, maybe it's because I know enough of the source material that, like, I didn't need that origin of the origin, you know? But then once you sort of said, no, it's like it built character and established something for you, it's like, and it's a good scene, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's just,
it is.
Like, I thought it should have been another film, but, like, when you brought that up, I was like, you know what? I'm being a little too harsh. How else are you going to portray this? And, like, it's actually a nice way to show what she does for a living and show a skill set. So by the end, just from our conversation, I was like, you know what? Fine. and also the fact, if there wasn't a sequel being made, I would have also checked out too. I would have been a no. But knowing that there's going to be another one, it's like, well, that ending, I am now okay with because you set up a sequel because you set up a sequel.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be kind of like one and done.
Oh, yeah. World building.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's a review of Tomb Raider. Let's figure out what we're going to review next.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Let's do a comedy, man.
Okay.
I was getting drunk and the main theme from Arthur came up.
Okay.
So I was... How do you feel about doing Arthur?
It's a very Arthur situation that you were in.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should watch Arthur.
All I know is Dudley Moore and Russell Brand.
Yep.
There we go. And being drunk.
Yeah, in that.
So cool. All right. Next episode, Arthur.
Nice.
All right. So that's what we thought about the Tomb Raider films. Let us know what you guys thought. Did you agree with us? Did you disagree? Did we miss any points that you thought we should have talked about? Hit us up on, we have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Retro vs. Remake. You're obviously watching this on the channel. Right. So subscribe if you're not already subscribed to any of those forums. And also, if you're on iTunes, any 5-star reviews would greatly help us grow this podcast.
Awesome.
All right. Good?
Yeah.
All right. So,
thanks for listening. This has been another episode of
Retro vs. Remake.